What's up, guys? Just won today at a case tournament with Cyberdark of all things. It was my first tournament back post ban list, and I'm gonna be pretty excited to show what exactly I'm doing with this because I kept it kind of on down low for a while, but I'll explain as I go. All right, kind of kicking things off. We have one Cyber Dragon, one of these guys. These are the only two machine Cyberdarks you play. You don't use Chimera because Chimera with Power Bond adds way too many garnets and it's risky. If you go Chimera, discard spell, run and fail, or you're just oh. On top of needing the graveyard setup. So I'm not on the Power Bond build, but I will elaborate further a little bit as I'm kind of going through. So 3 core, 3 claw. So these are the main starters. Every time you see core, claw, emergency, or realm, you can get moving really well. And then last to wrap up the Cyberdarks is 1 cannon. A lot of builds like to play 3 and then play 3 of these guys, but I personally think you only need 1 cannon because cannon itself leads into a normal summon that isn't the best without realm. Usually if you have to pick between your Cyberdark or core, usually you're gonna want to roll with core because core can grab realm anyway. So I just picked the 1 cannon out, even though it is important for its mill effect, you just need the 1, because of how accessible it is. Essentially, you have 12 ways to reach it, so. But then moving on to hand traps, so 3 Ogre, 3 Ash, 1 Failer, 3 Gamma, and then Driver.
I see you're also on Ogre. How was that today?
It was broken. It came up in odd ways, on top of sniping the Brave engine, which I seen twice today, I hit random stuff like Moe, and it would just randomly swing tempo in such a good way. But the other reason why I liked Ogre in testing is if you're going up against the Brave or Adventure engine, CCG is what they call it, they end on Griffin, and you draw into Ogre, you can actually snipe the Griffin out when they attempt to negate it, which is huge because compared to other hand traps, you don't really have that luxury with cards like Droll, Failer, and so that's why I like Ogre a lot, is just because you can draw for turn and still be useful against those decks. And so, moving on to the mill targets.
You play Golden Lord.
Yeah, so basically the main 2 mill targets are these guys. You got the 1 Golden Lord and 1 Gizmek. This, I'm going to probably cut. I never summoned this. This was a 41st card option. This idea was, oh, hey, I can go into Hulk, into Apollo without needing my Charmers to do so, but it never came up. But these 2 are busted. But these 2 serve different purposes. So the main line of play that you do with this deck off of core is you go Cyber Dragon core into Realm. Realm adds cannon, you pitch cannon, and you add either edge or horn. You add horn if you can beat over something. If you can't beat over the board, you grab edge and try to swing directly. And the reason why that swing is important is during damage calculation, cannon mills any monster. It's a foolish burial. And so you usually mill off your Golden Lord from there. And then in main phase 2, you go Golden Lord, send cannon off, special out Lord, and then you draw a card. It's a huge swing in tempo, and people think a lot of the time, they're like, oh, you need your punch to go through. It's inconsistent. In reality, it's not as big as a problem as you would think on paper, because usually they got spot removal, they hit realm with it. If they got negate, they're gonna hit core or realm with it. So the punch itself, needing a swing to get the mill off, usually if realm goes through, the punch is gonna go through. And even with the most common spot removal, Blackout typically, you can go core into Mirage to kind of help mitigate it a bit. Usually the smart players try to black out Mirage and then realm at that point. but you usually need a route like very specifically when you're trying to play around Blackout. Usually you go Realm first, then Core, then All Mirage to try to get as much tempo as you can out of that. Otherwise, if you do it all the way around like Core into Realm, they can just go chain Blackout and snipe both and don't get your Realm search. So that's kind of the main purpose in a nutshell. Like, essentially this deck kind of lives like almost like a modern Gladiator Beast deck where you need your punch to go through to get like a lot of the advantage, but when it does go through, it's a lot of advantage. Like, it's a draw one, a Golden Lord body on top of the Cyberdark body, all off of one single Cyber Dragon core. And that's not even mentioning Realm, Claw are extenders, unlike in traditional builds where if you open awkward hands like Hurts, unless you have an enabler or Hurts, that thing's gonna sit in your hand. So instead having more cards that can just keep pushing forward is huge. So moving on to the spells, 3 emergency, 3 realm, and 1 foolish. These are like consistency boosters. Like, foolish is kind of there to help mill Golden Lord early, where if you open like core foolish, you can actually OTK someone, because if core contact fuse, you get a Mega Fleet for 24. Then you got Golden Lord, then you got the Cyberdark at 24, which can then mill Gizmek. So that's how huge, like, just being able to mill Golden Lord early can be at times, because it gives you access to mill Gizmek during the battle phase for that extra chip off. And then, moving on to board breaker spells, 3 Droplet, 3 Cosmic, 3 Super Poly. All these were good. I can't complain about this lineup at all. Like, Super Poly had its awkward moments at times where I went up against 2 Sword Souls today, but it was like, when they would go Chi Jiao, I can chain Super Poly, go into Mud Dragon, resolve the core, make the Mud Dragon a dark, and so if they had another worm up, they can't like black out the Cyberdark monster at that point or impermit. So Mud Dragon was MVP. I was fully expecting Starving Venom. I did not run in a situation where I could summon Starving Venom to prevent the Scythe lock. It just was Mud Dragon prevent imperm, Mud Dragon prevent blackout.
Hey, you summoned it on me.
Yeah. It's just, it was surprising. Just, oh yeah, that is true. Like, on
took
the
my Ray.
and the side. Yeah, that was quite literally the only time is when you normaled Ray and I just did the awkward Super Poly with it. Then the literal only trap in the deck, the 1 Overflow. You don't need any of the other traps, including Invasion, because Invasion's only good going first, but I do side Invasion currently. But that's it for the main deck. Kind of the main deck gets like explained a lot by the extra. So kind of going on to the extra deck, you got All Mirage, 3 Charmers, and then I'll put Halp right here. So essentially, this is like a toolbox engine is what you have going on. Usually depending on what you're up against, like Core can go into All Mirage, or even the Cyberdarks after you send the equip off of Golden Lord can go All Mirage, which then can go into Hida. But Cyber Dragon Core, Golden Lord can go in Lina, and you're playing Cyberdark, going the best Charmer in the game. Like at locals, I stole like 4 DPs and 1 hot red off of Dark. Like, didn't happen as much today. Like, I think I've only saw 1 DP the whole day, but even then, I forget how I outed. I think it was just outed by Super Poly anyway, and just conceded. So, and now moving on kind of forward, you got IP and these guys. So basically, from the Charmers, you usually try a Link Climb, and usually you can do the Selene Link Climb package. That's why you saw 1 effect failure, is if I steal a tuner like Ghost Ogre Engrave or Ash Blossom, I can go into Hulk, grab the 1 failure, go into Selene, go into Axis Code if I'm going for OTK, but I included the 1 Apollo in there, so if I'm doing that main phase 2, which is easy to do, I can just go, alright, Apollo for 2, set Overflow, good luck breaking that on a crackback. And then the 1 Underworld, guys, this card comes up a lot, usually. how you set that up is if you core resolves and you do the core into cannon play into Golden Lord, so your ending board is like core, Cyberdark, Golden Lord. If any of the Charmers survive, it sets this up immediately. But also, if you have cards like Gizmek engraved from your mill, and you go into IP, usually a really cheeky play is if I got IP one monster named normal monster, I go IP effect, and they're like, alright, cool, chain Gizmek, and then you just drop Underworld Goddess on them, like right then and there. Now wrapping up with the fusions. So you only need one of these. Like, no one's really summoning an extra monster zone anymore. No one's really on machines. Like, this is kind of nice to be able to outsource and just the occasional machines that just pop up here and there. This card overperformed. Like, going Cyber Dragon Core, and then they attempt to go Chi-Jiao, or even like one of the funniest like super polys that didn't happen today but happens frequently is if I'm playing against some folk, they have Ecclesia Macabre up, and I just go, alright, super poly and Mud Dragon, call light or dark depending on which one I want to go into, and you're protected from Dogmatica punishment right then and there. So I like Super Poly a lot. I did not expect it to be as good as it was, but it was. Like, it was really good. Only thing to be weary of is awkward matchups like Sword Soul, where it's, if you don't open core, it would be hard resolving the Super Poly at times. So that's just kind of one thing to keep weary of. Now moving on to side deck. So 3 Droll, 3 Lancia, and then 1 token collector. So basically the Droll and Lancias were like the main sided hand traps. Like, because I already mained so many, if I threw in more, I was oversiding at that point. Like, you don't really want to overside. Like, the only real matchup I kind of wish I sided better for, if I knew how many were going to be here today, was Sword Soul. Like, I did not, like, when I remember siding, I was like, oh, Droll is decent, I guess, but hey, the 1 token collector though, you can mill that off the Cyberdark cannon, is like its main purpose. Like, if you break their board, you're like, alright, you're not going to crack back now with any token shenanigans now. So that's why I like the 1 collector in there. Like, I don't really see this lineup changing too much. It depends on how the meta shifts, really. But then, kind of moving on to the more back row hate cards. So, this is like one of my going first side cards. Essentially, if you're going up against back row, right, decks, you can just add this off a claw, and then send cannon off, pop, and then during your following turn, re-equip the cannon. But then to wrap things up, the last shared ride, going first card, go against Brave Engine. And, well, I liked how the deck performed today. I wouldn't change anything for now, but as the meta shifts, as a going second deck, you need to shift accordingly. And thank you very much for having this deck profile. It's been a minute since I did one in person, so hopefully don't look too bad on the beard, I guess. So
yeah, man, it's been a while since I saw you, so I do appreciate the deck profile, and you did really well, man.
Thank you very much, and have a good day, everyone.